Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 2, Episode 19, Rapunzeltopia, the dream episode. This is... At some point, does calling it a weird one stop being weird and just kind of become, like, the norm? Like, does that ever drift into being a thing? Where it's just like, hey, this is a normal one, by which I mean a weird one. Like, I hate to sound so weird. It's just, it is. It's a weird show. Because, like, okay, so we start off. Cassandra likes her happy, is way too happy. Good animation, showcasing immediately that something's wrong. Cassandra and Eugene are nice to each other. Her hair is back to normal. Frederick gets along with Eugene. Everyone's super happy. Old Twit Face is nice. And it just escalates. So there's a really subtle thing at first, and then it's more and more and more and more and more and more obvious that this is a Lotus machine. Okay, cool. I noticed that one of the events that Frederick had scheduled for the festivities for the coronation is the gopher grab, by the way. But anyways, so yeah, no, it's just like, yep, okay, cool. Frederick is looking forward to the pudding contest, and who wouldn't be? We get to judge a pudding contest? Sign me up. And now there's two of them. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give the episode this. Of all of the directions you could take a Lotus Machine story, having your subconscious be the thing that helps you get out is not something we see very often. And I do think it's one of the things the episode does better. Better, like improved, positive, because most of the time there's some other force which is either like some other person or their memories of a person or whatever, and that ends up being a significant force for helping the person to realize that they are in a dream state. In this case, it's literally just her subconscious. In fact, we even have certain sequences periodically which show that the rest of the dream state doesn't even acknowledge that she's there, which is kind of how subconscious tends to work. So, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'll give you that. And yeah, Rapunzel is quite persistent. But you're probably saying, well, hang on, all you're saying is praise of the episode. Where does it lose you? We've done this before. In this season, actually. We've already had the truck episode, remember? The illusions. She literally already has experience with illusions being fake happiness and how that's not going to help. And on the one hand, maybe that's what helps her to defend against this, but on the other hand, they don't mention it even once at all. So it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of forgot that episode even happened. Or weren't thinking about it when they wrote this one. Take your pick. I bring that up because it would have been a nice thing to just kind of do one of those one-line things, right, in the background. Because the problem is, however enjoyable this episode is, and let's be clear, it is, I cannot help but feel that we're just kind of replaying the same beats here, right? And yeah, it does. There's some strangeness to the construction of it. The more I think about it, while I did enjoy several bits from the island arc, the more it feels like the island arc really doesn't belong in season 2 at all. It's very strange. Like the thing with Hookfoot immediately before we lose Hookfoot, or the usage of all of the villains from season 1 before they just go right back to where they were going. Like so much of the island arc was just... I'm getting ahead of myself though. It wouldn't surprise me if it was intended for season 1 and they didn't do that because they don't allow seasons to be that long anymore and haven't for a long time. So maybe they quite literally decided to go ahead and grab certain episodes from season 1 and just plop them into season 2. And the island arc is an arc, so that makes sense. It's just, you know, in fact, something that's kind of funny. I forgive me for going a little bit off topic here. Voyager has this exact same problem. If you go look at the document really quick, all like two of you who actually care to look at the darn thing, you click over at the Voyager tab, you'll notice that season 1 is only 15 episodes long. That's pathetic, even by the standards of the day, never mind by today's standards. So, 15 episode season, huh? Well, the reason why, it's actually technically a 16 episode season, but whatever. The reason why is specifically because of the fact that they had all sorts of seasons and episodes lined up and ready to go, and had even started filming and doing prep work on most of them. But because of the nightmarescape that was Star Trek at the time, remember they were working on Deep Space Nine, Voyager, end of TNG, and the TNG movies all at the same time, they decided to go and chop it off and push a lot of the season 1 episodes into season 2. And, well, I've said several times that Voyager season 2 is one of the worst episodes, or one of the worst seasons of Trek. I have since proven myself wrong about that. But the reason I bring that up is because a fairly large number of those bad episodes in season 2 were supposed to be season 1 episodes. And, well, that says all it needs to, doesn't it? It's actually kind of a coincidental intrigue, because season 1 of Voyager is actually pretty solid. 37% for a season 1, I think that's actually our current best amongst the treks, and will probably continue to be so, because I don't think DS9 is going to pass that. It might not have actually landed as well as it did if so many of those bad episodes were part of season 1, and so it lost so much of that initial momentum. But all that's coincidental, of course. Sorry, all of this is just a roundabout way of saying that it's not uncommon for episodes to be made for different seasons and out of order, and then shoved into other seasons, pretty much because, I mean, we've already got the episodes, right? They're already written, they're already storyboarded. Here you go. Anyways, getting back to this episode. So, yeah, Lotus Machine, fracturing effect. Cassandra's dead. Okay, cool. There's that vine motif. They keep doing the vine motif with Xantiri. I've noticed that a lot. There's this bit where she goes and she's looking beyond the walls. And, well, it's obviously exaggerated. I feel like there's a thematic significance to that. That as she looks beyond the walls of her perfect home, all she sees is a nightmarescape. Big, barren deathland. Now, obviously, this dreamscape is constructed by... I've already forgotten his name. Matthew, whatever his real name was. But it makes a weird amount of sense because, while exaggerated, it's kind of where her headspace is at, right? She was stuck in that tower for 18 years, roughly. And then, when she finally managed to escape, she got out and saw more of the world, and it was a big, scary, interesting place, but, you know, it worked. And then she got out throughout season 1, she was still locked behind those walls. And then in season 2, she leaves those walls and sees even more big, scary stuff. And as I pointed out, we've had a way higher magical quota, a lot of which have been curses and hexes ever since they've been in season 2. So you see a lot of how, from her perspective, from the mind's eye, everything outside those walls is just this horrible deathscape. This then ties into something that fake Eugene says to her, that actually several people, including her mother, say to her. Don't worry. You don't have to make any decisions anymore. Or, all of us are here to make those choices for you. I don't know how deliberate this is, but back in season 1, one of the things that Painter Lady kept saying was that other people will make all the choices for you. Now, yeah, exactly, it's the same tactic. I don't know if this is related to Xantiri's overall approach, something I speculated on back then, if you remember. The idea that maybe Xantiri is literally the I'll control everything so you don't have to think kind of an approach. That's something we've seen in fiction before. Cough, cough, in Sabanur. But also, it could just be that's the thing that really appeals to Rapunzel. They keep using that tactic because Rapunzel is weak to that tactic. Because she desperately wants to not be queen. She doesn't want to be making these decisions, and she doesn't want to have all this responsibility on her shoulders. And honestly, can you blame her? Something I find interesting about Rapunzel is all this weight was shoved onto her with none of her consent. She was born with this superpower in her, and then she was kidnapped as a very young baby and abused and misused by a woman for a decade and a half. And then, when she finally gets out, everyone is now trying to deal with her or work around her or use her because, hey, it's you. And it's like, yeah. And yeah, I did like the cameo of Mother Gothel. I even liked more her being smacked over the head with the pan. And you get my overall point I'm trying to reach here. It makes sense that that Rapunzel would want to just not have to deal with any of that. Just live her life. Because she didn't ask for any of this. However, as Lord Harrimont points out, this is something that she's kind of already gotten used to, which is why one of the things I like about this episode is the only one who breaks her out of this dreamscape is her. The only one who realizes that this is not for her is herself, that she comes to that conclusion, right? Rather than someone else having to tell her that. I mean, yes, I know it's her subconscious, but that still is just her. That's just her telling herself, this isn't me. And I do like that. I think that's one of the ways this episode zigs, whereas the mother Sugar, whatever her name is, Sugar Bee, zagged a little bit. So then we have the big fight sequence. And everything's cool. Everything's cool. Everything's fighting. We have Dreamscape fights tend to be fun. Some of you remember the Dreamscape fight in MLP. That was a really fun fight. And same kind of thing here. There's little touches, little details too. I only wrote down one. She goes and she tries to climb up the awning, and she gets teleported outside. And then when she leaves, the awning's still hanging there as if it was still, you know, hanging from a drapery inside. Just little touches to kind of connect the different layers of the dream. Yeah, don't worry, I'm not real. Now run. Also, yeah, Godzilla Pascal worked for me better than I thought it would. And then, of course, you know, when she finally starts just completely curb stomping the guy. Yeah, that tracks. There's only one thing of the whole bit I don't actually care for, as sad as this sounds. See, she says at the end of it, when she's finally giving her big denouncement, you know the thing, right? When someone gives the statement that is the punctuation to their resistance. You know, resistance is futile. Or, you know, I will not let you take me. Or, you're not going to harm my child. Or, get away from my gods. Or, yeah, the line she uses there is, no one will stop her from following her destiny. That didn't work for me. And I'm only bringing it up because it was a very strange stumbling block in what otherwise was an excellent sequence. Because this whole thing is like her just turn, you know, and then she turns it around, and the way she turns it around makes sense too. Too often fiction likes to have this exact type of fight. We're winning, we're winning, we're winning, we're winning, we're winning, we're winning. But here it makes perfect sense because this all tracks with this being her mind. As soon as she realizes it's in her mind, she realizes she's in control. So once she realizes that, she wins. Okay, cool. But here's the Destiny thing. So obviously I have an aversion to Destiny because screw Destiny. But hang on. That's just personal preference. The reason the Destiny thing doesn't work for me is because this entire episode has been about how much she doesn't really want to be part of her destiny. I started my whole speech with that. This was foisted upon her. This was something that was pushed upon her. Something that she didn't ask for or choose at any point in her life. So her deciding to go ahead and adhere to her destiny actually flies in the face of the entire rest of the theme of the episode, which I feel is a very strange misstep for them. Now, it's worth noting we don't actually know what her destiny is. Frankly, neither does she. But it's just, like I said, it's a weird thing for them to stumble in there and for her to just decide to pick her destiny. Unless this is what 040 said, which is an interesting idea. Maybe her adhering to her destiny is another way of not making decisions. Now, frankly, no offense, I don't think these writers are talented enough to have actually done that on purpose. However, that is an interesting idea. The idea that she decided... Hi, Just Drop TV. Dealing with a sore throat right now. The idea that she desperately wants to push against having to deal with all this big responsibility, so she just goes along with whatever her destined path is. So she does. And she adheres to her destiny, and there you go. She has successfully agreed to not have to make any hard decisions. It could also be just... How do I explain this? Yeah, that, Blade Traval. That's a good way to put that. Because, if I'm being honest, I've noticed the whole show likes to use the word destiny wrong. Not in a big, obvious way, but more in a, huh? Kind of a way. Like, that's how you're applying that word kind of a way. And yeah, like the idea of what she chooses to do with her life, or the path she's going to be on, or her future. The word that I would replace destiny with is future, because in almost every case, it's a near one-to-one conversion. You're not going to stop me from reaching my future. You're not going to prevent me from being able to choose my future. Stuff like that, right? And it feels like they're just kind of misusing the word destiny. And it's such a strange thing, and I've noticed it before now, that I actually wonder if this was a mandate. I wonder if this was something that was being pushed down, because a lot of Disney princesses have a thing about some form or another of destiny. Now, granted, a lot of those involve them pushing against destiny, and indeed pushing against their overall fate. It's actually one of the most common Disney princess tropes. So maybe this was part of that? I actually have no idea. Yeah, no, it's got a good ring to it. Destiny, right? Why do we have to do this? Destiny. Like it's actually got a vibe to it. And so it may literally just be that they wanted to use a fancier word than future or life or whatever. And so they chose, a $3 word to do it. Anyways, sorry, I've been meaning to comment on that. I forgot until you brought that up, Blade Javal, so thank you for that. Either way, did I enjoy the episode? Yes. Was it still fluff? Yes. Is it still a yellow? Yes. Yellow episode, definitely. Oh yeah, there's one last thing before you think I didn't notice it. What was going on with Cassandra? I noticed they didn't follow through on that. So that's 3, 4 things they haven't followed through on yet. There's the Fate of Varian, there's whatever was in the hand of Kieran, there's the stupid monkey thing, and then there's this thing with Cassandra. Yeah, her expression was really weird. She also didn't hug Rapunzel. Anyone I would like to smack in the face? Nah, I don't like hurting people. Oh yeah, Cassandra also saw something that we didn't see. And, like, came out of the house after it was destroyed. I mentioned in my notes earlier, well, Cassandra's dead. And I sort of expected she would come back at some point, and instead she, didn't. Until the very end of the episode. And that's a very strange choice. So I don't know where they're going with that. Hopefully it will not be one of those forgotten story threads, because that's a thing that happens. Also, I do like the look of the house dissolving into sand. Although I find myself wondering, why does the house dissolve into sand? Anyways, whatever. Food for thought. Now, we're finally getting to plot. It's time for Season 2, Episode 20, Lost and Found, which, if my prediction is correct, will be our first plot episode. Let's see if I'm right.